Hey there, YouTube. This is Vargas recording live from the workshop in the Vargas Vault. It's been really crazy these last couple of weeks for reasons I will explain later on, but it's just been really crazy. I basically forced myself to get some downtime because I need to decompress, I need to unwind, I need to chill the fuck down. So recording videos helps with that, but now I want to build something. And I'm actually working on two projects right now. One, I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. I posted a video of me making the Elder Wand. I was watching a Harry Potter movie with my wife, and I was like, I don't actually have a wand in the vault. I have no wand at all. So I've been watching some do-it-yourself videos, and they showed this idea on how to make your own wand. So basically, what I did is I just grabbed the chopstick and made it into the Elder Wand with some hot glue and some paint, and I liked how it turned out. I was very happy with the end result. But I was watching the last Harry Potter movie, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and I was watching the movie with my wife, and I saw that Voldemort, the Elder Wand, is a lot longer than this. If you hold this like they do in the movie, you have only the 3 stubs there. If you hold it like this, then it looks a little better, but then it looks kind of weird. So I was like, I like how this turned out, but I want to make a better one. Because I'm obsessive compulsive. I'm never happy with what I make. I always find flaws, or I always want to improve. And since I did this one, I've done 2 more. I did Severus Snape's Black Wand, which I'm not 100% happy with. Then I did Voldemort's Wand as a favor to Movie Freak Bazaar, because he saw me doing these and he wanted the Voldemort wand, so I made one, and I actually was pretty happy with how that one turned out. But I was watching again Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2, and Voldemort had the Elder Wand, and I was like, this one's good, but it's not as good as, it's not movie accurate, and that bugs me, because again, I'm obsessive compulsive. So I decided to remake it. Right now I just put in a coat of black paint. I got, basically it's still chopsticks. I still make these with chopsticks. The only thing is that the Elder Wand, because I researched in the internet, you know, crazy man that I am, I researched the Elder Wand lore, and it turns out that it's a wand that's 15 inches long, so I was like, well, I could do that. So I basically just cut off 2 chopsticks, measured it, got 15 inches, and did the same thing that I did with this one. Hot glue at the base, hot glue there, it's all hot glue. Then with a pin, I went and did the holes that the Elder Wand has. If this thing would focus, you would see, there you go. It's covered with holes, and then it has a piece of parchment here, which I don't know what it is, but it's what it's got. So let the hot glue dry, painted it black, and now I have a 15-inch Elder Wand thing. And the other thing about the Elder Wand is it has this little base, and it has a big stub, then it goes smallest. So all I have to do is paint this brown, like I did with this one, just dry brushing it so it looks brown, but it keeps some of the black, which I liked how this turned out, into this one, and I will have myself a movie accurate Elder Wand. Same length, same width, because I also thought, well, maybe I could just, you know, walk around and get a stick from a tree and do it that way. But the sticks from trees are either bend or they're too thick, and if they're this thin, they break easily. So I went with chopsticks, just cut off the chopsticks until they're They measured 15 inches, then glued them together, and now they're just waiting a nice a nice brown dry brush, and I have myself a movie accurate elder one. Well, I still have to put the parchment there. It's just a piece of parchment with some symbols that I can, Sharpie in. But yeah, that's one of the two builds, the movie accurate elder one. The other thing I've been wanting to build is two things. One is the Necronomicon, and the other is a Doctor Doom mask. But I want to do the Necronomicon because that's one of the projects that I wanted to do first. So I'm going to do a Necronomicon. There's a lot of ways to do one I've seen online. The majority of the videos that I've seen involve latex, but I do not have access to latex. So that's out of the question. The other ones, the more easier ones that I've seen, is that you buy a book at a dollar store or sacrifice a book that you already own and just adapt that. I am a very, very weird person. I will freely admit that I am a bizarre individual, but I believe in the power of books. 'Cause even if you buy a dollar book, a book is made to teach something. Even if it's, I don't know, one of those crappy teen romantic things like Twilight or one of those clones. But a book, I don't know, I always felt that books have a certain power to them. If it's a cookbook, if it's something about psychology, if it's something about accounting, if it's something about, those tween books, they somehow pass along something to someone. So I am against the idea of butchering a book. I don't believe in butchering a book. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to butcher this notebook. Notebook is fine. It's for the most part empty. I found this somewhere. It has a bunch of empty pages, which they're lined. I would prefer if they were white, but I can work around that. And it has the nice page composition because the pages look yellowed on the... So it's an old notebook that I can use. But the Necronomicon is... depending on the version you've seen, it's supposed to be a book bound in human skin. And some versions, it looks like a hardcover. Some versions look like it's nice and flimsy because, again, human skin. So I think this is going to work best. So again, I don't have access to latex, so that's out of the question. One video that I saw that I'm going to add in the description made the Necronomicon with hot glue. So this thing is very versatile. The only thing they did in that video is that they drew the face of the Necronomicon and then put a bunch of hot glue to make the eyes, the nose, the mouth, some details here, and then just plastered the whole thing with hot glue. That's not what I want to go for. I do want to use the hot glue idea for the eyes and the nose and the mouth and some stitching that I want to do. So that's the way that I'm going to go. Another video that I saw that I'm also going to put in the description box did it with a combination of napkins and glue, yellow glue. This is white glue that I bought. That's why it has a name there. So what he did is that he also formed with napkins the face, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and put a brushing of white glue here, then put some napkins to give it a book texture, then gave it another wipe of glue, then some more napkins. So I'm going to do a combination of both. I'm going to use the hot glue to make the face, and then I'm going to use, and I'm going to have to put a lot of hot glue to make the face really pop out. Then I'm going to use the glue and napkin technique to make it, look like skin. And the way that he did it turned out really good. I was really surprised at how awesome that turned out with just napkins and glue. So I'm going to do that. But I want to give this a little bit more of a nice hearty thing. And also, if I mess up, I don't want to ruin the one notebook that I have. So that's where this used box of cereal comes in. I am going to use this box of cereal. I'm going to cut it up, measure it so it measures this thing. And use that as a template for the Necronomicon face. And hopefully that will, if I mess this up, I won't mess up the book. And that will work out. So I'm going to cut off the box, do the measurements, and we'll be back. Okay, so I really do wish that I could do this the whole way through. Like, just show you guys what I'm doing as I'm doing it. But unfortunately, I have to do this one-handed. That's kind of hard. But I'll try to do the best that I can. So now I open up the cereal box, and I have to cut it. So I think I am going to. I don't want to waste cardboard because I want to see if I can get two. So I think I'm going to go this way. Yeah. So I'm just gonna. Let's see, will that work? Yeah, I'm gonna cut the thing this way. Okay, so I want my Necronomicon to have a spine. I don't want just want it to look like that. I want to have an actual spine. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to make each piece separate. Now this should cover most of it. Yep, it does. It covers most of it. I want to leave a little bit extra so I can fold it inside, but I am happy with how that looks. Just a little bit here, and then I'm going to do the face design first, and then I'm going to do the back, and then I'm going to put it all together with this piece that will be spine. So basically, will fit like that. And I'll just put it together, and then just do another coat of whatever it is I'm going to do. So hopefully this will work out. Okay, so next thing to do is actually draw a face. Thankfully, I have numerous screenshots of the Necronomicon that I can use. The thing is that there's a lot of versions of the Necronomicon. The version from Evil Dead 1 isn't the same from Evil Dead 2, which isn't the same from Evil Dead 3, which is not the same from the remake, and it's not the same from the TV series. So there's a bunch of versions of the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, which is the version that I'm going to go. The Necronomicon, of course, is a creation of H.P. Lovecraft. It's this evil book that has passed down through various generations. It's basically a grimoire. It's a book of spells, but it's, of course, evil spells. And the H.P. Lovecraft Necronomicon doesn't actually have a face. It's not bound in human flesh. That's from the Evil Dead series, and that's the version that I want to go for. And that one has a face. At least the version that I like has a face. The remake just has a bunch of stitches, but I wanted to pop out a face. So I'm going to post some of the images that I have here. But this is the design that I'm going to go with for the Necronomicon. I found that if you're going to do something like this, do it with a pencil. Do it with a pencil. That way you can erase stuff that you don't like, and then once you have the nice design that you want to go for, then you can use a pen to make it a little bit more permanent once you're happy with the design. But this is, I think I might make the mouth a little bigger. The eyes, most of the Necronomicon eyes droop. They look kind of sad. Some look evil, and that's the look that I'm going to go for. So yeah, part 1 is done. Okay, so This is the design that I'm going to go for with the pencil. Sorry, the pen, because the pen is mightier than the sword. And once this is done, now that it's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hot glue gun, and I am going to add a glob. I want to see how this works, but I want to put a glob of glue in every one of these lines so that it'll pop out. And then I'm going to do the glue thing with the napkins, and I might have to put some more glue in the other cape, because these things really need to pop out to give the eyes and the nose and the mouth some depth. So let's do that. Okay, so first layer of hot glue is done. Very carefully, what I did is that I just put hot glue all through the lines that I made. So all of this has a line of hot glue. Now, when you're working with hot glue, if you have never worked with hot glue before in something like this, be aware that you have to be very careful, because the silicone will make these little like spiderweb lines. Now, for the purpose of the Necronomicon, that's fine, because it's supposed to look all wrinkly. So as I am adding layers and layers to it, I will come across that, but it will actually work to my advantage, I feel, and make it look like it has the lines that the Necronomicon would have, because again, this is supposed to be human skin, and skin through the years have kind of like shrunk and has made different lines. So I'm going to let this cool off a bit. Also, the lines didn't come out 100% straight. They kind of curved as I was putting on the glue. Again, not a big problem, because it's supposed to look all crooked and weird. But I like the way that turned out. Yes, very happy with it, actually. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to let this dry a bit. And while this is drying, I'm going to paint the Elder Wand brown. And then once this is nice and dry, I'm going to start doing the glue and napkin technique and see how that works out. Okay, so it's nice and dry. The second guy, well, actually he was the first guy. The second guy was the guy that did everything with hot glue. But the first guy that I saw recommended that I use glue, but for the first ceiling thing, well, not the ceiling, that one comes after, but for the texture, he recommended I use some of this, but a little bit diluted with water. So I grabbed one of my daughter's empty Play-Doh things, and I put a little bit of water there. And I'm going to put some of this white glue. He said the ratio, the recommended ratio should be 50-50. So that's what I'm going to go with. Cover this thing up. And I hate using this thing because it dries up, and then opening this thing is a pain in the ass. But anyway. And then we have the mixture here. I just need a toothpick that I had here, but this is the case with me. I always end up losing everything. Screw it, I'll just use this thing. You want to mix the glue, and then once it's mixed up, what he recommended to do is that to put a slab of glue here, and then put in pieces of paper. And the paper will make it stick and allow you to get this kind of like skin-like texture that I want to go for. And it'll adhere to the cardboard, which is what I'm using here. And it'll, since it's gonna look wet, it's gonna give it that texture that I want to go. So I'm gonna do that with a couple of coats here and see how that turns out. Okay, so first layer's up. Actually, once I started doing it, the technique is very similar to a technique that we have here in Mexico. We call it engrudo, which is actually just flour with water. and that produces a sort of glue that you have to work at it. You have to put a number of layers for it to actually harden, but that's how we make a lot of arts and crafts here in Mexico. So this technique reminded me a lot of that. I do have to, trace some of this. It's starting to form like bubbles, which I need to pop. And I don't want to lose the outline of the face. But even if I do lose the outline, I can just go and add another layer of hot glue once this dries, and it's making air bubbles. Why is it making air bubbles? And just, retrace the Necronomicon's face. But yeah, this is reminding me a lot of Engrudo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry. And I like the way it's making the curves that I didn't want to do with the hot glue. The hot glue it's a more watery than I thought it would be. Might have to add more glue, up the glue to water ratio, so it's more glue instead of water. But once this dries, hopefully it'll get me the skin look that I want to go for, and then I'll just add another layer. Once I add another layer of the glue to make it really stand out. So yeah, turning out really good. Okay, so it's still not dry. It actually came out a lot more wet than I thought it would. So what I'm going to do is next time, while this dries, that I'm going to add more glue than water. See how that turns out. But I like how it's wrinkling. It's wrinkling quite nicely, and it is giving it that kind of like skin tone that I was going for. So that's gonna turn out great, I hope. The only thing I did is that I put another coat of super glue along the face area, because I do want it to pop. I do want it to stand out more. So I just basically traced the same glue line that I had before. I just made it more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to do another coat of napkins once this dries up, and let that dry, and then I'm going to paint it. As I did with most of the projects, I'm finding that painting it with a coat of black is good. And then I'm going to paint it with a combination of brown and red. So I'm still getting the hang of painting. I'm not that good at painting, but I'm getting there. I feel practice makes perfect after all. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to work on the back. I'm going to make the back, might as well put some details with hot glue. And because a version of the Necronomicon has an ear, but I don't want to put an ear on the Necronomicon. So yeah, I think I'm just going to go with just a couple of lines of stitching with the hot glue. So let's see how that works out. Okay, so I finished the process of doing the glue with water. It's 50% white glue with water, and just getting everything wet, then putting some paper, and putting it there, then giving another coat. I've already done 2 coats on the front, 2 coats on the back, and what this technique allowed me to do is that it allowed me to keep the pieces that I wanted, like the face, the mouth, the eyes, but also gave it this wrinkly texture, which I liked how it turned out, because again, this is supposed to be, the Necronomicon, which is bound in human flesh. So I like how it turned out. So now I let it dry overnight, gave it another coat, let it dry again. So 2 coats of this should be enough. It's nice and solid enough. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to give it a painting of black paint for the base before I dry brush it brown and red. So let's see how this turns out. Okay, so I finished the process of doing the glue with water. It's 50-50% white glue with water, and just getting everything wet, then putting some paper, and putting it there, then giving another coat. I've already done 2 coats on the front, 2 coats on the back, and what this technique allowed me to do is that it allowed me to keep the pieces that I wanted, like the face, the mouth, the eyes, but also gave it this wrinkly texture, which I liked how it turned out, because again, this is supposed to be, the Necronomicon, which is bound in human flesh, so I like how it turned out. So now I let it dry overnight, gave it another coat, let it dry again. So 2 coats of this should be enough. It's nice and solid enough. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to give it a painting of black paint for the base before I dry brush it brown and red. So let's see how this turns out. Okay, so progress report. It's some of the corners started ungluing, so I just put another coat of the glue mixture just to keep it, stuck. I also made a spine for the Necronomicon, and I left these extra layers of napkin just so I can use that to, bring it together like so. I put another mixture here just so it would have that, and some extra so I would be able to glue it to that notepad. So what I'm doing now is that I'm just waiting for this to dry, but in the meantime I gave everything a black coat of paint, just regular acrylic paint that I have in a Gerber bottle, but yeah, just black paint. Want to give it a first coat of black paint, because like with the older one and other stuff I've bought, I've found that it's gives it a better effect if it has a black base before I go. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is that I'm going to let the black paint set, and while this dries, then I'm going to go over it again. Then what I'm going to do is that I am going to paint it brown. I don't know if I want to do it black, like black brown, or find a mixture of light brown so it looks like skin. And then I'm going to dry brush it red, so it has a nice red. And I'm gonna I left these little crevices here with hot glue. I think I'm gonna paint those red. I wanted to do stitches, so I might still do that. Stitch this thing and highlight the Necronomicon's face with a slight tinge of red. But I like how this technique of the napkins with the glue formula work, because it does give it like these little wrinkles that I ended up liking a lot. So yeah, so I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna give it another coat of black paint while this dries here, and then I have myself a nice base for the Necronomicon. Okay, so update time. Bought this acrylic paint that says it's skin color. Thought it was a little too white, but I've used this before, and once it dries, it does turn a little bit browner, which I'm hoping is the case that it does, because I painted everything with that color over the black that I had, and the screen isn't picking it up, but it is starting to dry, and it is starting to turn a little bit darker. I did want to go for a more skin-like color. I'm sorry, because it's against the Necronomicon is supposed to be bound in blood, so in human skin. I'm sorry, it's bound in human skin. So that's what I was going for. I just painted everything except the parts that I wanted black, which is the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. So even if it doesn't turn out too well, wherein it doesn't dry up and look as skin color as I want. I can still fix it. I can still weather this. I'm still planning on weathering it with some red and dark brown because I wanted to get a blood-soaked texture. So I'm gonna mix some red and brown and then weather it by dry brushing it. Because this I just threw a gob of paint, and because that's the plan I want to go for. But I'm gonna weather it with that red and brown. I already have this brown color, and I have a red color there. So what I'm gonna do is gonna do a mixture of both of these, and then just weather it. I want to paint these lines red, bright red, and then weather it, and see how that turns out. But so far, I'm actually liking how it's turning out. I already also finished my Elder one. I was going to go for a paint job like the smaller one that I did, but I remembered that I bought these at a dollar store. It's furniture touch-up markers. These markers are designed to, if you have anything made out of wood, you just use these markers to buff out dents or something like that. And they have 3 different colors for light wood, medium wood, and darker wood. I bought these at 3 at a 99-cent store. I was like, I'm building wands. This will work great, and it did. It actually painted everything with this nice glossy look. I've seen a bunch of pictures, and it's supposedly like this. It has dark brown here and light brown here. The only thing I need now is a piece of adhesive tape to write the weird symbols that it has. But my Elder one is complete. So my movie accurate Elder one is done. I'm happy with how it turned out. My Necronomicon is almost done. So next segment you're going to see, I'm going to show it off once it's complete. So hopefully everything will come. This is going to be a long video, but but I hope you guys like these type of things, because I like making these type of things. So I'll see you in a bit. Ta-da! This is it. Here it is, my Necronomicon. After the last segment, I had painted it that skin color. It dried up, and it didn't quite give it the look that I wanted. It didn't dry out any browner. It just kept that white-looking thing. But like I said, no problem. No problem. I could work with that. So what I did is that I made a mixture of red and brown because I wanted it to have a fleshy look, but a bloody fleshy look. So I did that. Covered the whole thing up, painted it, and then I got this white color that I did. So next thing that I did is that I didn't show. I gave it 2 layers of white glue to seal the paint. I don't have Plasti Dip, but researching if you use white glue, it does the same thing. It's basically what I wanted. The Plasti Dip, what it does, and the white glue, what it did, is that it gives it a coat, a protective coat, so that the paint doesn't crack. Because that's something that you have to be careful when doing paint projects, I've found out. Because the minute that I finished painting it, that red and brown color, that you can still see here, this is the red and brown color that I used. The minute that stopped, that dried up, and I was sealing it into the notebook, because it's already part of the notebook. I just put, right now I just put some masking tape. And this is something that I wish I would have thought ahead, because as I was putting the paper towels with the white glue, I thought, you know what, I don't have enough space to actually bind it to this thing. So I started doing these extra layers of skin, but I wish I would have done some more, because there are pieces Like for example here, that I don't have enough skin to actually tape it, especially here. So you know, if you want to do that in the future, definitely consider that and give it a little bit more skin, extra skin to bind it. But then after the white glue, and it still hasn't dried up, but after the white glue dried up, the first coat and the second coat dried up, I just went over it with a watered down black paint, a black acrylic paint, just you know, watered down with water, and just gave it some snot, some, you know, some white, some black highlights, basically just giving it here. So it still kept the nice red and brown meaty color that I wanted, and the black just highlights it and makes it look good. And I'm thinking that I'm going to give it another coat of. I actually don't want to give it another coat of white glue, because the black the black paint that I put works really well. But I like how it turned out. I like how the skin cracks here and has these nice wrinkles. I did, before putting on the white glue, I did paint these little vein things. They were originally supposed to be staples. I was going to, you know, like stitches here and there. But I like how that looks, actually. It looks like it's pulsing with blood. And so I liked how that turned out. And the face also has these nice wrinkles, and the black coat that I gave it, I like how it brings out some of it. So I am beyond happy with how this turned out. Maybe it's just me because I'm proud of how it turned out. You know, other people might see some certain flaws. Like right now, I'm seeing they didn't put enough black here and here and here. So I'm thinking I might, but I don't want to drown it with black. So I'm gonna leave it as is. Maybe here, I'll put some black here. But I'm happy with how it turns out. How it turned out. I really, really am. I am super obsessive when it comes to things that I make. Like really, really bad. But I'm happy with how this turned out. The Necronomicon Ex-Mortis from Evil Dead. I like how this turned out. I am very, very happy with the end result. So, another project done. Hope this video helps you if you want to make your own. It is difficult. I took 3 days to finish this baby up. But now that it's done, I love it. I love how it looks. The only thing I need to do now is water. There's this technique where you take white pages. You can print the pages of the Necronomicon in white paper, and then put some tea bags in water, and then brush the water into the white pages, and then that will give it a watered down effect. Then you can also burn the edges to, you know, make it look really beat up, and paint some red or red and brown to give it like a gory look. So I might do that, but for now it's just a really kick-ass notebook. It'll be good for Halloween. You know, I could do an Ash costume, but I'm just really, 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 really in love in how it turned out. So gonna let it dry. It still feels a little sticky from the white glue and the paint, but this was it. This was the Necronomicon and Elder One project for the cosplay build. Hope you guys liked it. Sorry again, it turned out so long, but if you're into that, cool. So I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.